Now, Kanye West has officially been banned from entering the UK, and this comes after a lot of backlash, both politically and publicly, right after it was announced that he would be performing at the Wireless Festival in London. So, let's talk about what actually happened. Now, on Tuesday, April 7, the British government confirmed that they had denied Kanye West's entry into the country, and the reason behind that decision was tied to his past anti-Semitic remarks about the Jewish community. Now, I'm sure most people already know about a lot of the things that Kanye said or has said over the past few years. We'll get into that later, but first, here's how this situation even started. So recently it was announced that Kanye was going to headline Wireless Festival, which is one of the biggest music festivals in the UK. I think actually Europe might even be the world, I'm not sure, right? It's a major rap-focused festival, happens every summer, and usually it features some of the biggest artists in the world. And Kanye was set to perform multiple shows as one of the main headliners. But here's where things took a turn. In order to enter the UK, Kanye had to apply for something called an ETA, an Electronic Travel Authorization. Now, if you've ever traveled to the UK, I'm sure you know what that is. It's basically a digital clearance you apply for online before entering the country. I actually did it myself last summer when I went to London, and usually it gets approved really quickly. It took me like literally, I don't know, less than 5 minutes. Simple process, no issues. But in Kanye's case, his application was actually denied. A spokesperson for the Home Office said that Kanye applied on Monday, but the decision was made to refuse entry on the grounds that his presence would not be conducive to the public good. And once that decision came in, everything started to fall apart, because shortly after that, Wireless Festival also released a statement and confirmed through their website that the festival was cancelled after this. Now, what's interesting is this. The festival organizers said that before booking Kanye, they actually had consulted with multiple stakeholders, and at that time, no major concerns were raised. So clearly something changed, because once it reached the level of the government, it was completely out of their hands. I don't know why Kanye wouldn't apply before he actually became the headliner, though. That's a whole nother conversation, right? At the end of the day, the final decision always comes down to the UK authorities, like it always does. Any government decides, right? And it didn't stop there, because as soon as Kanye was announced for the festival, the backlash started building up fast. Major companies like Pepsi and Diageo, which is a huge alcohol company, both pulled their sponsorships from the event. And even the Prime Minister spoke out, calling it deeply concerning that Kanye was booked to perform, given his past comments and controversies. So by that point, you had political pressure, corporate pressure, and public backlash all happening at the same time. And that's ultimately what led to the decision. Now, Kanye actually made a last-minute attempt to avoid the ban. He put out a statement saying he wanted to come to London to promote unity, peace, and love through his music, and that he was open to meeting with members of the Jewish community to listen and have a real conversation. And he also said that he knows that words aren't enough and that he would have to show change through his actions. And obviously, Kanye knows that a lot of the things he said, he just went too far. Now, whether he did that for publicity or that's how he generally feels, I don't really know. Nobody knows what's going on inside the mind of Kanye, right? But what I do know is this. There was a period where he was going extremely hard with the anti-Semitic rhetoric, and it wasn't just one moment. It was repeated statements, interviews, posts, to the point where it became a real issue publicly. And eventually that started to have some real repercussions, because many of the people he was doing business with were part of the Jewish community, and they weren't willing to keep standing next to him while he was saying those kinds of things about their community. Makes sense. So one by one, those relationships started to fall apart. Deals got cut, partnerships ended, and Kanye ended up losing hundreds of millions of dollars through that entire situation. I guess in his mind, he probably thought he could say all that and nothing would really happen, or maybe he just didn't expect the consequences to hit that hard. Because it's one thing to go viral, it's another thing to start losing real money, real partnerships, real opportunities. They say if you want to get back at somebody, hit him where it hurts, the pockets, okay? And that's basically what happened with Kanye. Now, what makes this situation even more interesting is that despite everything that happened, Kanye never really disappeared. Because at the end of the day, he's still Kanye West. And even after all the backlash, the lost deals, the public outrage, he still managed to stay relevant. Now, earlier this year, back in January, Kanye actually came out and spoke more in depth about what was going on with him mentally during that period where he made those anti-Semitic comments. In that statement he made back in January, he made it very clear. He said, "I'm not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love Jewish people." He also wrote a letter titled "To Those I've Hurt," where he tried to explain his behavior. And according to Kanye, a lot of what happened during that time was tied to his bipolar disorder, specifically bipolar type 1. He explained that during maniac episodes, he would lose touch with reality and started acting in ways that were impulsive, reckless, and in his own words, sometimes it felt like an out-of-body experience. Reminds me of that clip of Quando Rondo.
"It's like I had an out-of-body experience."
He even said that during those moments, he was drawn toward extreme and destructive ideas, including using symbols like the swastika. which he later said he deeply regretted. Now, one thing he also brought up was that he believes all this traces back to a car accident he had back in 2002. Most hip-hop fans know about this, right? At the time, most of the focus was on his physical injuries, like his jaw being wired shut, which is what of course led to the classic record Through the Wire. But according to him, he believes there was a deeper brain injury that wasn't properly diagnosed until years later. He claims that medical oversight played a role in his mental health struggles, and that he was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2016. And he also revealed that in early 2025, he went through a 4-month manic episode, where his behavior became, in his words, psychotic, paranoid, and impulsive. He said that that period basically destroyed his life, or actually he said parts of his life, and even led to suicidal thoughts. And according to him, it was his wife, Bianca Censori, who encouraged him to actually get help and start taking things seriously. Now, he also spoke about how his actions affected people around him, especially his family. He admitted that the people closest to him had to deal with fear, confusion, and seeing him act in ways that didn't even feel like him. And I remember that's exactly what Kim Kardashian said some time back, but a lot of people didn't believe her. He also apologized to the Black community for past comments and actions, saying that he let people down. And he made it clear that while his mental health explains some of his behavior, it does not excuse it. He said he's now focused on treatment, therapy, better habits, and trying to move forward in a more positive way. And he ended that statement by saying he's not asking for sympathy or a free pass, but that he hopes to earn forgiveness over time. But now this UK ban becomes another repercussion in that process. For anyone who doesn't know, Kanye has a lot of business relationships in places like the UK, and there's no better way to build or repair those connections than being there in person, meeting people, shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever, right? Having real conversations. And now he won't be able to do that. I think it's fair to say he probably regrets how far things went, at least as far as the backlash that he got in terms of, the money in, right? There's actually a quote from Ayn Rand that says, we can ignore reality, or you can ignore reality, but you cannot ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. And in this situation, this is a perfect example of that. Because no matter how powerful you think you are, no matter how big your platform is, no matter if you think you're above consequences, there's always a reaction to your actions. And words are actions. Don't get it twisted. I think a lot of people in this internet era kind of fall into this illusion that you can just say anything and nothing will come from it. And technically, yeah, you can say whatever you want. I'm here talking freely right now, just like everybody else, and I'm not holding back on what I want to say. But one of the things that I do know is that there's no such thing as freedom from consequences. Your words are one thing, but what comes after those words, that's the part you do not control. And I guess the best way to move is just moving genuine, not forcing things, not trying to be provocative for any type of attention, just moving with a certain level of awareness and realness and purity, in my opinion. But at the same time, even if you do that, you could still get a negative reaction from it, right? I just think that most times when you move like that, the other way, right, you stay away from a lot of unnecessary situations. And this whole story right here, in my opinion, is bigger than just Kanye getting banned from the UK, because yeah, his situation is public, it's documented, but this same pattern exists in everyday life. It may not look as extreme, it may not be as overt, as obvious, or be in the headlines, but it's the same type of idea. A lot of people today, especially in this internet era, have fallen into this illusion that you can just say anything and it doesn't really matter. And that mindset has a lot of people perpetually stuck without even realizing it. Because every action, every word, every decision, it all builds into something. Now the question is, what does it build toward? And whether you see it immediately or later on, those consequences are always going to be there. As for Kanye, he can't enter the UK. Okay, it is what it is. The government has decided. If you made it this far, drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new here. My name is Blacky Speaks. Nice to meet you. What do you guys think about Kanye getting banned from the UK? Y'all let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.